What's going on, everybody out there, and welcome back to another Dark Avenger comic book review. We are less than a week away from Halloween.
Yep.
So yes, even though this is not for the last week of October's books, by the time we do the last week of October's books, by the way, we got to fix these flaps. By the time we reach the last week of October's books, we're going to be in November.
Yep.
So we'll miss out on our chance, so we decided to do it now. Of course, Halloween literally fell 1 day short. 1 day short
from when the books
when our books come out the last week. So here we are doing this week's review. We got comments up. We're doing it live again. I see that our good friend Alan probably is in the comments already, keeping an eye on everything going on. But anyway, got a lot of books to cover, and we got some stuff we'll talk about at the end. So Michael, when were these books released?
They were released on October 18, 2017. And we're going to start with our
Kenneth Crowley Jr., what's going on, my friend? And we are starting with the digitals. These did not come out this week. I have been postponing these books because first 2 weeks ago was super busy. Last week, things were hectic. This week, we got it. Argo Comics Double Shot number 2.
Yep.
I really enjoyed this. This is a crossover between Argo Comics and other superheroes from other worlds. I really enjoyed the Mighty Max and oh god, I believe his name is Ultro. I wanna be right, and it'll kill me if I'm wrong. But I love how there's a lot of reference to Argo 5 issue 11 in there, where that's where Mighty Max ended up dying, and the son now wants to kind of be like his father. And if you know anything about Ultro, he was also in Argo 5. He was also in other books. You'd see that he wasn't exactly looking to follow in his father's footsteps at first. There were altercations between him and his sister, Gladiatra. It was crazy, and I really enjoyed this. There was a lot. There was Thunderman in here. You had I forgot how to pronounce her name, but she was actually in Argo 5 as well. It was her. Sumatra. She's part of the Impact group. But it was a really, really great issue. I love the pinups at the end, the artwork. There were 3 stories in there. Artwork for all 3 stories were really good. I'm enjoying the double shots, but I got to tell you guys, now, as much as I love Dan and, I love all the Argo books, there's one book from Argo Comics. There's one book that I absolutely love that is my #1 favorite that takes precedent over any Argo Comics. Never heard of them. Oh, Kenneth Crowley Jr., you know Dan from Comic Frontline. He is the writer, creator, owner of Argo Comics. You really, Kenneth, knowing the comics that you like, hearing your top 5 and everything, you should check out the book I'm about to review, but not this issue. You should go back, get issue 0 and 1, see what you think, and continue on. This is my favorite book out of Argo Comics. The book that, actually, I would like to also point out that this week, Dan is celebrating, we are celebrating with Dan a 4-year anniversary on Facebook. We've known Dan 4 whole years now.
4 years.
So he's a wonderful guy. His comics are amazing as well. It's argocomics.com. You could also find them on Indie Planet, every single one of Argo 5. There's also the Argo Anthology, Mike's favorite series, which is Sorority Power, and now Argo Comics Double Shot. But now we're going to get into Argo 5, issue number 24. We are 1 away from the impactful issue 25. And Dan, now I understand why you wanted to make sure I got to this book. Now, Argo 5 stories always kind of, except for a few instances, end with a the end. They never end with it to be continued. This book ended with a to be continued. And it is the biggest cliffhanger that Dan has left me in the Argo 5 books yet. And I know if I say so far, he's going to try to top it. So yet, what he's done yet. And I saw you said thank you for something, Kenneth, and you deleted the message. You'll have to resend it. I didn't see it. But I love this issue. So these deities that are from the, the era of the Egyptians, they come back. They're the superpower couple. Thanks, guys. I will certainly check them out. Awesome. Thank you, Kenneth. And definitely let Dan know if you do pick up any books that you, that you heard from us about it. And they're back to get their children. And their children also have gold. And by the way, the whole situation is a big meet and greet between all the superhero factions. So I love how the girl that was in the double shot was also in this book, and how why did Why did the name leave me at the moment? Shoot, it's gonna hit me in a moment. This character, I forgot. Oh, you already moved it?
No, I have it still.
I'm trying to remember this one. Oh, but anyway, she's there. What happens is that these deities attack, and then the teams, the huge group, end up splitting up into different parts to collect the children. And of course, none of them want to go, so it ends up breaking out into a fight for each child. And you'd think that one of them would be different. No. Then we get to the last one. Now you see they're fighting and they're winning. They're fighting and they're winning. And then finally you get to the last one with Gladiatra. I forgot who that woman was that was a wolf, and there was somebody else with her. And they end up getting attacked and then taken advantage of. And now they're kind of in a tight spot. And Dan decides, well, this will be a great cliffhanger to be continued in the 25th impactful, spectacular issue. I'm like, you didn't just do that. He did not just do.
Oh, he did.
He did. He did, because then the pinups started. Pinups look great. But now I'm stuck sitting here.
I'm waiting.
I'm waiting to see what happens now. In issue 25, this book is a 5-star book, one of my favorite books from Argo Comics. I love all the books from Argo Comics, but this is my #1 favorite.
Yes, and
Argo 5 is my favorite.
Yes. And if you want to check out more stuff, you can check out his website at Argo Comics. That's argocomics.com.
You could also check out Law & Order. There's a one-shot here, and I believe Law & Order might be getting another one-shot soon. I'm not sure if I remember correctly. We got Argo 5 here. We got Argo 5 all across the board somewhere all here. We have several of the books. At some point, I'm either going to, I'm going to wait to see if Dan makes a trade. If he does not, I probably will go back and end up buying all of the issues I don't have straight from Indie Planet physically, because Argo Comics is one of my favorite books, and I think I'd get the anthology too, because Argo 5 does make appearances in there, and characters that are in Argo 5 make appearances there. So I definitely would recommend it for you guys just as much as I'm going to probably be doing it myself. Go Power! We're going into this week's books now. Absolutely check out Argo 5. The Argo Comics double shots, definitely check them out as well. It's Dan's first crossover, I believe, with another company.
Yeah.
I think that his characters did cross over in another book before, or vice versa. Somebody else's characters crossed over in his book. But either way.
No, someone else's characters.
Somebody else's characters crossed. When I said that, it started to hit me, yeah. Either way, awesome books. I'm hoping he makes a trade too. I'm waiting to hear if there's going to be a Kickstarter or something, because we will definitely back that up. But anyway, Go Power Rangers, issue #4.
Yep.
Issue #4. We finally find out about Salad Girl. We find out that Kimberly's parents are fighting. Zach is a busboy. She's new in town, and she ordered a salad from somebody else. Zach, who was just passing by, I don't believe he was even their waiter, ended up saying, we don't have those types of things in the salad. Of course, the father and mother, being all heated up because they're fighting amongst each other, end up saying, hey, boy, don't give us no attitude. And the manager comes over, and Zach gets fired immediately because apparently, zero tolerance, yada, yada. So Zach ends up getting fired. So that's where we find out about the Salad Girl reference. But now we're back to the present, and Kimberly doesn't want to leave her boyfriend behind. I believe Matt is his name. We all know that's not going to stick because her and Tommy end up getting together. I don't even think I don't think he's going to stick after after this, because in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, we don't really get to see too much of him. But anyway, Go Power Rangers have been really good series. Hope to pick up some of the trades soon. Honestly, I do want to pick up the trade. I might ask for it for Christmas for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the omnibus that has the first 12 issues. It's a hardcover with the Green Ranger on it. I might do that. But anyway, I might do Go Power Rangers as well. I really enjoyed the issue. It was a lot of fun. Kimberly ends up breaking away. Jason gets stuck as the Red Ranger now. And this is where Kat and Jay were debating. And I didn't really get to say too much because we were running late. And I figured I'd talk about it on here. That's one thing I didn't like about the book. And if what Kat says is true at the comic convention, that they were thinking about, originally Zach being the Red Ranger, or Zach originally being picked as the Red Ranger, and then Jason got the spot. See, again, now, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is for the adult fan base that, obviously, we grew up with the Power Rangers. We watched them when we were kids, and now we want to read about them as adults, reading comic books, or us comic fans who are fans of the Power Rangers want to read about it. I'm glad they went with the traditional route, because if they would have started switching colors around and making Zach red, maybe Jason blue, Billy black, who knows, I think I don't think that it would be at the place where it is now. I believe that keeping everything the way it was, keeping every character the way they were, is why this series, number one, has a huge fan base, and number two, you know, you got all the people that loved the Power Rangers back in the 90s, the early 90s, or mid-90s, of 95, I think, when Power Rangers came out.
No, it was 93.
It was 93?
It was 93.
I wanted to say 93. I think 95 was a movie.
Yeah, 90. Oh, yeah, that was a movie.
I think that was a movie. Okay, so you have the fan base from the old and now the new fans. So I like that they kept it traditional, but what I didn't like in the comic was the fact that they made Zach a whiny bitch, going behind Jason's back, basically going behind the entire team's back, going to Zordon and saying, Jason wasn't there. I led the team. I did a great job, and then Jason showed up at the end and we won. But I basically was there. I made sure to be there. I led the team. I told them what to do. And why is Jason the leader? And he's like, not to say anything bad. I love Jason. I love how people think that saying, I love him, he's like a brother to me, but. And then they start whining about, why am I not the better one? Why is he the better one?
So then why would you say that in the first place?
And why wouldn't he say it in front of Jason? But the truth of the matter is, though, I like that Zordon. I don't like that Jason was a bully who then learned from being a bully. But I can understand that a bit. If it makes sense.
Kind of.
So I like that the fact that Jason's trying to redeem himself from being that kind of bully. And Zordon explaining. First of all, Zordon shouldn't be explaining himself to anybody. The Rangers are, under him. But beside the point, he told Zach something very personal about Jason that Zach probably didn't know, and that's why Jason was chosen as the Red Ranger. Now, the problem is, when Kimberly ended up leaving Matt, she left him in the care of that woman that was an agent for Rita, and now Rita is inside of his mind, and that's where this issue is left off. Very interesting stuff.
All right, so now we're going to go into my book. So, Savage Dragon issue number 227. This is a completely new beginning story arc of Savage Dragon. And basically, just to sum it up, because this was like on my least pile, like on the bottom pile. Not saying like it was worse or anything. It's just Malcolm, Maxine, and the children going to Toronto, Canada.
Sup, Spartan?
Because the reason why they went to Canada is because in America, with that whole political thing that happened, they went to move to Canada, and now they're going to start a new life there. That's really the whole basic of the book. So, like that was it. Like, they were just moving to Canada.
Oh, I wasn't yawning because of the book. I'm yawning because it's actually almost 1 o'clock in the morning. But yeah.
All right. So, Bill and Ted Save the Universe, issue 5 of 5, the last final issue of the Bill and Ted Adventures. And I have to admit, though, the whole battle against Deegan was really... Like, I wanted it to be something more, but it was actually not as I expected it to go. I mean, of course, we know that there was a demonic thing that was inside of him, along with Lord Glurm, or whatever his name was. That was kind of the influence of the way he was also from that time span switch and everything. But, and then you're trying to get Bill and Ted to get together still as the Wild Stallions, where they had to surrender because of the whole thing that was going on with Deegan. But then everything got sorted out, where everybody came to help. Even their wives were there as well. And now the Wild Stallions are back together. So everything, it was like a whole big thing in the book. But you'll definitely have to read it to see what I'm talking about. Faith in the Future Force issue number 4. Another concluding issue of Faith in the Future Force. And this is what's making me laugh about this issue. Of all the issues... of every Valiant character that was going up against the robotic thing, because I don't want to say toaster because everyone doesn't like that. I say it on live because we made fun of it. But out of all the characters that tried to go to fight against it and failed to fight against it, we have Chris Crowell, who is Fate's ex, from what I see here, to go and play the acting part of talking to the robot. Thinking, okay, this might be a bad idea, but it actually worked. He talks to the robotic being, and the only reason why he went on attack against the humans is because of what the humans did to him on his planet and everything, and he explains about that. But after that whole talk, that just left. I'm like, wow, you mean to tell me that Chris Caldwell was the answer to get rid of...
Every Chris is an answer.
Not with the last name Crowell, but anyway... that was just funny. I just laughed and I was like saying, wow, that really was something. But I hope to get to see more Fate books from Valiant because it's really an amazing issue. We have a #1 that came out of Zenescope, Dance of the Dead. This is Grim Fairy Tales of actually Dance of the Dead. And to be honest, like before I was gonna look into this book, I was thinking I don't know what I was gonna think of the book because the other issue was great. Like don't get me wrong, but I wanted to see how this was. And this one actually picked up to the best extreme. Like we have I can't remember what the girl's name was, but she actually is seeing that there's a war that's going to be happening, and I can't even remember the main character's name. I mean, well, anyway, it talks about her character also, about how she became the person that has like the white mask and the dress and everything. But she fights alongside her in the end because there's going to be a bunch of the war that's going on that actually ensued against the Millenniums, whatever they were called. I forgot what they were called, but really impactful issue. So I'm definitely hooked and waiting to see the next issue. Van Helsing versus the Werewolf, issue #4. We find out more information about who the werewolf is, and actually, with the camera focus, we see Van Helsing that actually fights off against the werewolf. And the werewolf is actually a brother of, I don't think it was Talisman. I think it was like a brother of somebody, because there was like going through that whole backstory about how he became a werewolf and whatnot, for that matter. Everything all right?
Yes, God made a brief appearance.
Yeah. And I don't know, like it was just like a whole big thingamajig that now, since Van Helsing found out about it, like she might have a way of trying to maybe resolve things with the whole fight against the werewolf. So that was actually really something, that issue. Zenescope just hit it out of the park this week with those two books.
TMNT Universe issue #15. I have both physical books for indies this week. I really like this issue. So Karai ends up getting the sword. She ends up taking what's his name under her wing as well. The mole ends up teaming up with her. She offers him freedom. All he has to do is work with her. We also find out that Koya actually has the pendant in the main story this time. And she escapes. The granddaughter ends up meeting up with her and her team, and the master also ended up bringing the granddaughter. She warns about her grandfather, and really the rest of the book is just them attacking the grandfather and destroying his company and taking him out. Now, what you got to worry about is this sword. Apparently, from what the grandfather says, it eats your soul. So I think this is going to play into a future story with Karai, and then Karai also ends up taking control over the all of the the gang lords in Tokyo. She's basically going to set order without being part of the hand. She's going to do it herself. And then we get the final part to Koya's story, which is interesting, but at the same time, secondary stories never matter. So now the next issue, we go back to other side characters. I believe we're going into the Triceraton people.
I guess, yeah.
I don't remember. There's going to be a specific character, I'm sure. That's where I'm going to start getting worried about this series, and then we'll see what happens after it. If nothing good happens after it, then TMNT Universe, we go bye-bye. Again, this series is not a series that's super important. The foot. Right, thank you, Tevye. I said the hand, the foot. She was part of the foot. You see, Marvel has the hand. IDW has the foot. I think my universe is going to have the head, because that's the higher up one.
Is it where they get decapitated in the end?
I don't even know. And 2 to 1, there's probably somebody that has the head. I'll probably have to have the stomach. Maybe the stomach will work.
Actually, it won't, because Krang controls that.
No, Krang is not a stomach, though. He's in a stomach.
Right, but that would still be disturbing.
So many feet and hand talk. Let's get into Invincible, which this issue was really, really good. Issue 141 is part 9. There's a really emotional conversation between Mark and his father, and I believe that is the heart and soul of this book. I loved the dialogue, the human feel to this book, which we didn't get for so long, which is what everyone was talking about on Comic Frontline, on Frontline Live, which you guys should definitely check out if you haven't. And in the end, the father does end up, spoiler alert, dying, but he wants Mark to take over as the leader of the Voltrumites. And now, fast forward a bit to the future, and they're heading to Earth. Mark is all healed up, and now he's actually considering, because he said no to his father at first, but now he's actually considering being the leader, and Eve is kind of not, you can tell that she's not too keen on it at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ending, of course, leads to the big cover. I mean, if you saw the cover for 142, you know the ending is leading up to Robot. The big final, the battle that should have happened before Mark left. There is, I think, 9, 10, 11, 12, 3 issues left.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Getting closer. All right, so yeah.
He might have you. We don't know.
Oh, might do that. Yeah, you got one digital.
Because everything I got physical this week. Future Quest Space Ghost issue number 3, the fight against Metalis. And, of course, you all know Space Ghost won the fight. We get the background. We get more background on Metalis, why they're stuck in their metal suits. They want to go home, so they end up stealing a ship and going home. Unfortunately, what do you call it?
You said Omicron?
Not Omicron. Was it Omicron? Maybe it was. The being that they fought during Future Quest actually ended up destroying that world, so they were all by themselves. Then Metalis' followers ended up dying fighting Space Ghost, and then Metalis himself ended up dying on his planet. So they got to go home, and now Space Ghost has the gems, so now he's making the power bands again. And I know, right? Tevy's still talking about Invincible. But I really like the story. I really wish they'd make a Space Ghost ongoing. I hate that. I think the next issue, if it's not a one more issue for Space Ghost, I think we're going into Birdman. Not saying I won't review it. I won't read it. Probably won't review it. The reason I reviewed this was because I love Space Ghost, and I would love to get my hands on that trade paperback of Space Ghost. I did actually get to read it digitally. I want it physically now. And this mini story arc really brought that brought back the feeling of that book, and it actually does follow a lot of the events that happened in that book. That was a retelling of the cartoon that was way back in the day. I really love Space Ghost. If you guys couldn't tell, I really like Space Ghost. All right, so we're in the big 2.
Yep.
As you guys knew already, because we were talking about Future Quest. And we have a lot of DC, and we got a couple of Marvel legacies, so let's get started. We are going into Venom 156, Venom versus Kraven, and that's exactly what happens in this book. And one thing I like is Mark Bagley is actually doing the artwork in here. So the underground dinosaur world has been attacked, obviously by Kraven, and one of the dinosaur people go to Venom for help. And that's where the fight between Venom and Kraven ensues. Now, the problem is Venom and Eddie are not working out good right now because there's that stuff that the government put in Eddie. So the symbiosis is not exactly as strong as it was so long ago. And in the end, because of that, Venom, Eddie ends up getting hurt and knocked out. And the symbiote has to carry him somewhere to get help. And the symbiote actually takes him to the doctor from Alchemax. And that's where the story is to be continued. Interesting stuff. A really good setup. I will say it was a really, really good setup.
All right. A book that I reviewed. Wow, there's some out there.
For
Comic Frontline, I reviewed this book of the Marvel Legacy tie-in of Luke Cage, issue number 166. And this comic book was actually...
Why are we having Venom protect dinosaur people? It's the story arc that's going on now, Tevya. Live with it. I believe that Venom Inc. is going to be a lot better. Good setup issue for Venom. I agree, Kenneth. That's exactly what I feel. I feel like it was a really good setup for the story.
So after the whole New Orleans ordeal that happened, we see that Luke Cage is going on a road trip. And we find out that, everything should be good as he's going on a road trip, and everything. But unfortunately, we have a police squad who actually, that's great artwork, by the way, who actually come in and, that say that you know, that he's all trouble and everything, and he's like trying to say there must be a misunderstanding, and they start the whole ruckus, and then he tries to end it where he gets gassed, and then we find out that the person behind all this is Maynard Tobolt. I think that's how you say. Do you know him? Well, basically, he's the ringmaster-like person that could control people's minds, which was actually talked about when the woman was talking to him. So he took over his mind, and talk about waking up from something that wishes to be a nightmare that turned out to be a reality, because now he is in the jail cell, and that's his new home. So he now belongs to the ringmaster crazy guy. Yeah. Really intensive issue there. I don't know how he's going to get out of that, but we'll just have to find out and see.
Now, for those of you that didn't know, before I get into this, I want to give some background context. I have been reading Mighty Thor. It's one of those books where I like to read books casually, and you guys are going to notice in 2018, I'm going to be good. Oh, we're talking about Venom, so I thought something else was typed. When we get into 2018, you're going to be noticing several things there. That's for you. Read it.
I thought I was... Luke Cage to me felt like the Netflix TV show. A bit in terms of the look of his costume, you could almost see Mike Coulter in the art. You could.
Yeah,
I would definitely say that.
Now, what you guys don't know is I've been reading Mighty Thor. I'm a couple issues behind from 700, which we'll get into in a moment. Now, I've enjoyed Mighty Thor as a read on my own. Now, as you guys know, I read a lot of books weekly, but I only review... I would like to say I review 90% of what I read. The other 10% I read at a slower pace, which is why I'm a couple issues behind with Mighty Thor. It's something, those are books that I read for pleasure more than for online reviews. And in 2018, that list of pleasure reads over review reads is going to go up while the review read is going down. But I decided it's a 700 issue. Let's review Thor 700. And I enjoyed the book. I want to say first and foremost, I enjoyed the book, period. As a whole, it was an enjoyable book. However, it did feel, and I got to agree with what everybody said on Frontline, it was my lowest pick because the artwork was all over the place. There were 5 different stories going on at once, literally would interlock. Now, what they could have done that would have made this a little bit better would be if they took those 5 stories and chaptered them off. Chapter 1 could have been She-Hulk, which made no sense for this book, versus Jane Thor. That would have been perfect. And then you could have had Thor, or you could have had Jane and Thor kind of crossing over. By the way, you get another stamp. You get the Spider-Man #1 stamp. You could have had the Jane and Odin's son Thor crossing over a bit, but then you had War Thor. You had young Thor from back in the day, young Loki from back in the day, different artwork there. Then you jumped into Midgard in the future, and you got to see future Thor. All father, you get the fight between Galactus and Ego because they're infected. You get this one big splash page towards the end where I forgot what her name was, but you could see the future, and you see all these... Come on, where is it? Am I missing it? I must be. Yeah, well, you see all these different futures. You get to see Thor in his new costume. Loki has the Infinity Gauntlet. Old Loki has the blade. I forgot what that was. You get to see Mjolnir is apparently either destroyed or there's just a piece of it. I don't understand where that picture is going. Jane dead on the moon. And you see a bunch of other villains on there. I don't know. Honestly, I feel like it was a bit of a mess. And then we get an ending where it's leading into... The ending is leading into several different things. There are several different things. And then you get a sum up at the end of Odin's son is Thor, then losing the hammer, and then Jane Foster's life and her becoming Thor. I enjoyed this book, but it was kind of a mess of a story. I feel like they could have done a lot better if they would have chaptered things off. And this was a lot to read. This was, as the book says, it's not a joke. It is 50 pages long. It is a really big, it is a hefty Marvel book. So when you pay $5 for this book, you're paying for a lot of story. But at the same time, they could have executed certain stories a little bit better. Mighty Thor 700 was a disappointment for me. The story all over the place a bit also. The artwork a little too Jason Aaron is usually a good writer for Thor, but not one of the best issues. I agree. I 100% agree. And honestly, this felt like a preview book. It didn't feel like a preview book, Tevia. It felt like this was the prelude to the death of Jane Foster, because we truly and honestly didn't get a first part to the death of Jane Foster. We got a prelude to it, and then teasers for what's coming next in Mighty Thor. Will I still be reading Mighty Thor? Yes. Digitally and on my own time. So I probably won't be reviewing Thor again until the next major event happens, which will either be the death of Jane Foster or the return of Odin's son and Jane Foster going into whatever new role it is. After that, again, now it has nothing to do with Jane being Thor. I've read Thor before, and I've dropped Odin's son Thor before. Thor is another character that truly has been a miss more than hit character for me. Iron Man was a miss all the way until Invincible Iron Man. Daredevil is a miss again, but it was a hit when Mark Waid was writing Daredevil. So it really depends on the writer, and it really depends on the characters, but a lot of characters I don't care about before they're recharactering with, why is Jane Foster fighting Hulk? No explanation. Why was she Hulk out of control? No explanation. The whole book had very little explanation of what was going on. So I got to say, underwhelmed, but I enjoyed it. And I'll continue reading it on my own time, not at the speed of reviews. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, issue number 5. The only physical Spider-Man book I'll have until Venom Inc. So, well, and of course, not counting Scarlet, Venom. Trying to think if there's another Spider book. No, that's it. So Vulture has the Tinkerer's brother. And the brother apparently, the Thinker's brother, the Thinker wants him taken out. And the whole beginning of the book is Spider-Man fighting the Vulture. I love the homage to Spider-Man 33, I believe it was the number for the issue, where Spider-Man's holding the entire building over his head to save Utu. And he does. And the Thinker's brother is saved by Pete's sister. And Pete actually has them both go into hiding. Aunt May is with the Thinker's brother. The Thinker's brother staying with him. We get a nice scene with Flash. Apparently, Betty and J. Jonah Jameson want, to get the story out about Spider-Man. So J. Jonah Jameson actually goes to Pete and says, I need to have a word with Spider-Man. This is important. If you do this for me, I'll leave Spider-Man. And, Pete's like, if I do this for you, you have to leave Spider-Man alone for a year. And he's like, deal. Just get him, and then I'll give you the place and time. And then we find out that Peter Parker is now, enemy number 1 for the people looking for his sister. Interesting stuff to be continued. Now, a Hulk book that did not disappoint. The Incredible Hulk issue number, if I can get it to work right, 709. I'm sorry, the lenticular cover sucks, so it makes it hard for me to see it. So I'm going to actually not show you the lenticular cover. I'm going to show you the cover that would be without the lenticular cover. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, has been, along with Renew Your Vows, the 2 better Spider-Man books. I agree. I could agree with that. Definitely, Kenneth. Definitely. 100% could agree. So Cho is in space, and he's trying to figure out how to deal with the Hulk problem. And then the planet that Hulk once was on, I forgot what planet it was, but Hulk was there, and he actually saved them a long time ago. They reach out to Amadeus Cho because they find the Gamma signature, which they think Cho is actually Banner, but he's not. And I like how there's internal dialogue from the Hulk. So he ends up landing on the planet. The planet has been put under siege again, and it's up to the Hulk to save them. Except this Hulk isn't Banner Hulk, it's Amadeus Cho. And Amadeus Cho has a little bit more, he's in more control of the Hulk for the beginning of this book. They end up getting into this gladiator fight, and this is where the symbolism happens. The Hulk finally takes the wheel and throws Amadeus Cho out, meaning he is now in control of himself again. And that's where the Hulk kind of breaks out and finally, he's returned. As the woman says, the world breaker has returned. So Hulk returns finally. This is all going to lead into Bruce Banner somehow coming back and Amadeus Cho losing the gamma radiation 2-1. Wouldn't it be interesting if Amadeus Cho ended up becoming the Red Hulk? Or a Hulk in general. Incredible Hulk was a good issue, one of the better issues I've read in quite a while. I 100% agree, Kenneth. If not for the Weapon X crossover, I probably would have waited until this issue or the issue right before it, which set up for this issue before I actually read the Incredible Hulk. So we got Invincible Iron Man, issue number 593. The quest for Tony Stark begins, and I really enjoyed this issue a lot. It has a little bit of what happened before. The group finds out Mary Jane and Tony's biological mom find out about Tony going missing, and basically the Bureau or what was it? The investors end up taking over Stark Industries and kick Mary Jane and Tony's biological mother out of power. So they end up taking it over. There's a really good scene with Dr. Doom still playing the hero, and you got Ben Grimm going, dude, you've done disgusting things in your life. Nobody, and I mean nobody, myself included, is ever going to forgive you. So why don't you just give up and stop looking for redemption and just go away, period. Then we jump into the present where now they're trying to look for Tony. You know, they think about all these different people they can reach out to, but really everybody's busy doing their own thing. And then somewhere else, a character, we don't know who, ends up coming out of this canister. We don't know if it's a clone. We don't know if it's Tony. We don't know if it's Dr. Doom. But he ends up literally crawling over to the Iron Man armor and just curling up into it. Who is it? Tony's gone missing. This person has now emerged in an Iron Man facility and literally crawls into an Iron Man suit. Is it Tony? Was Tony brought back? Is it a clone? Is Dr. Doom turned, is he starting to lose his, because remember, Reed Richards fixed him. Is Dr. Doom losing the fix? Is this what Dr. Doom is starting to look like now? Who knows? I don't know. Do you know?
No.
Nobody knows. So it's going to be very interesting to see. There's a lot of questions. This was one of my favorite setups. Between this and Incredible Hulk, both books were really awesome as far as setups. This better not be a clone. Well, we don't know yet. If it's a clone, I'm going to be pissed. Invincible Iron Man was a decent issue. The ending I really liked. The story building to some bigger, real Tony Stark comeback. Also hope we get more Pepper soon. I do too, and I feel like this issue really didn't go too far. I feel like it went back a step to show us what happened before the team found out that Tony was missing. We went back to that moment, stuck with it for like 5 seconds, got a small little scene with Dr. Doom, and then we went into the teaser and ending. That somebody's now in an Iron Man suit. The end. To sum it up really quickly, it was a quick part to the story. In a trade, this would literally be read over super quick because it was literally just point A, point B, and point C, and we were done. X-Men Gold issue number 14, my favorite. This is one of my favorite books. Basically, this is paying homage. Mojo World is basically X-Men through time and all these different situations. You got Cyclops, young Cyclops with Prestige, Longshot, and Kitty fighting off against Magneto. And I love how they're fighting Magneto, and then out of nowhere, Cyclops kind of has like this moment where he's like, no, wait a minute, no. What was I thinking? What was she thinking? Because Jean is now the leader of the X-Men. And she's like, and Kitty's like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, we shouldn't be working with him. Nobody can change this much, this fast. There's no way, no matter how much he says he's changed, there's no way he could be this different. And that's where he admits to the team that the X-Men Blue team is working with, they're working with Magneto, that Magneto's leading them. And then we go back to the other team, and I love how they're talking about, an Angel ends up dying. And the weird thing is, if Angel's dead, that brings back my point from the last issue where Bloodstorm died. Maybe Dead is not dead in Mojo World. Maybe they're teleported away, like what Jay said, or else Angel's dead. Dead. So they're going through all their past. You got Jean or Prestige fighting against, oh no, it is Jean. Jean fighting against a darker version of herself. And then we have the X-Men outside of the force fields trying to figure out a way to get in. And, we went through Avengers versus X-Men, Extinction, Jean versus Jean, and then we're getting now this, which, as Nightcrawler says, has never happened. So is this a possible future where you got the Phoenix Sentinels, you got the Brood, you got these guys on these horses. You got a lot of different enemies. Is this the possible future for the X-Men? Is this a X-Men past and present and future kind of story? Really cool stuff. I'm really loving X-Men Gold, this series, and I'm loving this big epic X-Men crossover. X-Men Gold was another good issue. Good, had a 90s X-Men feel. Yes, it did, because it went through a lot of the 90s stories. I also, the artwork was really good. I agree. I read the latest issue of X-Men Blue, and that theory was 100% true. Which theory? That it's X-Men, that they're showing the future? If so, dang. One of the books that might actually end up going into a casual read for me, but I'll be keeping it physical because I do like this book physically, is Green Lanterns, issue number 33. Long story short, Jessica and Simon end up, Jessica's therapist thinks, or friend thinks, that she should go get a job. Simon's sister says get a job or go find somewhere else to live because we need money to live. And all this other time they're out in space helping these aliens that we're going to forget about once the story's over. I honestly forgot the name of the aliens already, the race. I just know that somebody died in the end, and the next issue continues it. This is going to be one of those forgettable stories, and I feel like Green Lanterns is slowly becoming one of those really quick series of forgettable stories, which is not good, because if you become an arc, or if you become a series that has a bunch of forgettable stories, you become a forgettable series, period. The stories turn you forgettable in general, like you are now forgettable in general. And Green Lanterns is going down that route. They need to, like Mike Spider-Slayer said, I agree. They need to come back to Earth. They need to stay on Earth. They need to deal with Volthoom, because he's still out there. And we should be focusing on that story arc. And we should be focusing on the Guardian that's with them. That's name completely left my mind right now. Green Lanterns was a step down from this past issue. The stuff in space should have been saved. Hal and John and John Stewart, Kyle, Jessica and Simon should be grounded. Artwork is good though. I agree about the artwork, Kenneth. I 100% agree. Nightwing 31. So Nightwing is now working for Blockbuster, and it's to get rid of Raptor. However, Raptor attacks Blockbuster and exposes Blockbuster to a bunch of kids. You've got Dick fighting the Orca gang for Blockbuster to help him out so that Blockbuster will help him. But Helena listened in, and Helena is really pissed off. And now, because basically Nightwing didn't tell Helena she was working, him and her were teaming up to help a gangster out, they're done. And we find out that Pigeon's working with Raptor, knows about Nightwing now. And how do we know this? Because Sean finds out about it, because she goes to Pigeon. So now she has to go warn Dick. We all know that's going to happen. So Dick lost Helena. Pigeon's working with Raptor. And then in comes, you've got Raptor at Dick's job.
Oh.
To be continued. Can't wait to get away from all this. I really, truly can't.
All right, next is my book, and the book I don't know how that happened.
There are a few of them like that this week.
Trinity, issue number 14, Dark Destiny. In dark times where Superman got possessed by the demonic...
Wait, dropping Nightwing recently, not because I don't like the book, but because too many other good DC Rebirth books I'm reading, though I am reading... Oh, okay, so you moved Nightwing to trade. That's like what I'm doing with Weapon X. Understandable, Kenneth.
And because the whole Ra's al Ghul incident, where not only Superman's affected, but we have the Red Hood and the Outlaws, because it's now Superman Bizarre that's going up against Batman and Wonder Woman. And, the whole fight scene. And then Batman takes Jason Todd with him just to try to maybe snap him out of what's going on. And the whole fight scene between that is something else, really. And then you have John Constantine, who is having a talk with, what's her name? I can't even get her name. But anyway, she actually talks about Zatanna, about how, they get her killed and whatnot. Like, basically, you have to find out. But she actually comes in and they just go in the portal, and we don't know where they're going to be until next issue. And somebody betrays, actually, Ra's al Ghul for the ultimate sacrifice. And that's
we didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and that's going to be continued next issue of Trinity.
So Wally, our Wally in Titans issue number 16 is dead.
What?
Dead. Trust me. Trinity I thought was better in this issue, plus the third arc has been better overall. Like the first arc, second arc, a little so-so. Artwork, though, in the series continues to be strong. I agree. Artwork is really good. So what happens is Wally, pre-New 52 Wally ends up reaching out to New 52 Wally. The Titans are fighting against...
Darcy, that's her name.
The Titans are fighting against all the people that are being mind controlled. Donna is starting to lose it because Wally's dead. And I love how in the very end of this book, they fight, and of course, New 52 Wally ends up joining the fight for a bit too. But I love how Lilith figures out in the end that somebody's going to betray them. Everybody thinks it's Lilith. And by the way, what's her name also gets her memories back. Wasp gets her memories back. Not Wasp. Bumblebee gets her memories back. And that's what triggers who the traitor in the team is. And it's, spoiler alert, nobody on the team. It's apparently possibly the New 52 Donna Troy, who is Troya, apparently. So there's a dark version of Donna Troy that was now released from some type of a prison she was put into. So I know our Wally's not dead, Tevia. There was already what are those things called? There was already previews showing that there are future stories with Wally. So I know he's definitely not dead. How is Troya here? Because I'm lost. We'll find out in the next issue. I have a feeling it's going to be all explained to us. It's going to take a whole issue, and the story's going to take another month before it moves forward again. Batwoman issue 8. I'm not digging. I'm sorry, but I'm really not digging the Scarecrow arc. The whole first half of the book, she's still in that dream world that she was put into by Scarecrow, and we know that Scarecrow's working with somebody. Colony Prime is there. He got captured as well. Him and Batgirl end up fighting and attempting to escape. Unfortunately, they don't get that far because Scarecrow uses his gas, and now they're basically... It's a video game version, come to comic, of Batwoman and Colony Prime versus Scarecrow from his world. Titans was really good this past issue. Only been reading it digitally. And getting the trades artwork in the series continues to be really good. I 100% agree, Kenneth. I think it is, Tevia. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and find out about Donna from the Titans. But as far as Batwoman, I'm starting to lose interest. I might end up moving Batwoman digitally.
This was reviewed on Comic Frontline. Green Arrow, issue number 33. And this is a new story arc of Trial of Two Cities, Part 1. And basically, it's the focus point really is where the Ninth Circle is saying about...
Batwoman for me has been up and down, only reading some issues digitally.
Yeah. So Ninth Circle headquarters booted out Moira Queen and Broderick. And we have Oliver Queen who gets back with Black Canary. And we also have Shadow who appears in this comic again from issues we haven't seen her, who talks with Dante with awesome artwork. And Dante is saying to her basically that the mother of all tasks is to kill Moira Queen. Moira Queen already kills Broderick. We have Amico who talks with Katie that Wendy Poole is still alive, while Oliver Queen is catching up with friends, so to say. And in the end of the issue, Oliver Queen, well, get ready for this spoiler, he meets his mom. And how that just came to be continued in the next issue. This was really something else this issue, but yeah. Can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
I'm not going to spend too much time on this book because I'm not, just like the Cyborg one, I'm not really a huge fan of the Aquaman crossover with Batman Metal, or as it says, Dark Knight's Metal. This is Batman the Drowned. basically, it's a world where Batman is a woman, and it's really sad what went on with this Batman, with this person. And in the end, basically, she gets the same offer everybody else does. She ends up converting Mira, and now the oceans are hers. Kind of leads into where issue 3 said, where Aquaman said they took Mira and, you know, yada yada. Again, if you're not an Aquaman fan, it really wouldn't matter to you.
Green Arrow.
Oh. One sec. Me personally, it was an okay issue. Just like Cyborg. This and Cyborg were my least. I think there's 1 or 2 more that are coming out in November, and then we're done with the crossovers, and it's only going to be the main series, and I think there's like 1 or 2 offset one-shots, and that's going to be it.
All right, Green Arrow only have been reading some issues in print and in trade, been getting the Mike Grill variant covers. Still in the 9th circle, really. Green Arrow was better in Pre-New 52 under Judd Winnick.
Judd Winnick. Yes, that's when it was the. I remember when they did the Green Arrow, White Lantern Green Arrow. Remember when he was protecting?
Yeah, but I mean, I understand that the 9th circle's getting ridiculous, but I'm really looking over that. I'm just looking for a building up in the story. I mean, that's just me. You know, we're just trying to look over that. It is getting annoying, but you know, what was that?
That wasn't me.
You had that ding.
Not me. Batman 33. Like I was saying, because Mike heard a ding. Oh well. Anyway, the beginning, it has Batman and Catwoman in the desert going somewhere. They're heading off somewhere, and the best part of this book has to be this part right here, where Alfred tells all the Robins, Nightwing, and Duke, because I'm not calling him the Signal, that Bruce is marrying Selina, and everybody's kind of like, well, we'll get to that. We also get a guest appearance from Tiger from Nightwing series. Again, more connections to Spiral, but he tells them, and they freak out about him and Catwoman. So they're trying to get into, I can't pronounce where it is, but anyway, I don't know why they're going there, but I love how Damian is freaking out about it, because we find out in the end of the book that that's where Damian's mother is. So why are Bruce and Catwoman going to face Damian's mother? And also the Justice League, along with Batman, put sanctions up so nobody could go into this city. Has to do with a past story arc or something that happened there, and nobody's allowed to go there anymore. And now the Justice League is going there. Superman wanted to know where Batman was, and now when Batman comes out, the Justice League is going to be standing there waiting for him. I don't know where Batman's going, but man, he's going somewhere, that's for sure. Super Sons issue number 9, or as I'd love to say, the story where John finally comes into being a super. Real quick, because Batman wasn't really interesting. Yay, Batman and Catwoman, the desert, but where's Tim? Tim isn't back yet. This takes place before the detective. Batman was really good. Good to see the Nightmare Batman costume from Batman v Superman. That was cool. I did like that. Justice made into comic. Tom King, great writer once again on Batman. He's so good. Also great artwork from Jolie Jones. I hope I said her name right. But anyway, Super Sons are where I would like to say John gives the best inspirational speech ever. So Karnak, we find out, he's trying to, he wanted to save his world. We find out the 2 girls are actually made of clay as well. And he's been a slave to this planet for so long, sending him meals and whatnot. And like I said, Connor. Oh man, I'm still thinking of Connor. John gives a really heartfelt speech, and it gets through to Karnak. And Karnak actually turns on the planet, and he sends Superboy and Robin back, and promises that the world will be safe by he's going to save it. And then there's a nice scene with Superman at the end. And then we find out that Karnak actually stayed true to his word. He created a bunch of heroes because he only sent the planet away for X amount of time. It's going to come back. I really love this issue. Oh, that was what I wanted to show. I wanted to show the artwork where John is giving his speech. And you could see his father. And I love how Damian actually said it to him, that he could see, like, he's definitely a lot like his father. You see it. You could see in the artwork how Damian is starting to really develop into his father. I could see it. You could see it in these two panels also, especially this one, that he is becoming his dad. And that's what I like. I like the development with John. And again, I say the only reason we're not getting a Superboy book is that because I think when they bring Connor back, I don't know if they're going to make him and John Superboys or something else. And then, you know, Connor will be Superboy. But Super Son has been really good. A bit behind on reading it in print. Getting the first trade paperback soon. You should get, and then Tevi agrees you should get the trade.
I love Super Son. It's amazing and adorable.
It's adorable. It's always adorable. It's got to be adorable. Last book of the review is Superman 33. Lex Luthor and Superman teaming up in the most uncomfortable exchange of, well, first of all, Apocalypse is in hell. Let's start with that. But then Superman and Lex Luthor, buddy teaming up, you know, to stop these bank robbers. Oh, you, sir. No, Lex, I insist. You first. You were here first. And working together, and yay, they saved the day. And then Lex Luthor ends up, I like the artwork. The artwork definitely is a saving grace of this book for me. I love Gleason's artwork in this book. Love it. That's one thing I love about this book and keeps me coming back. Lex Luthor gets taken away. And then there's a sonic message. Lex says, you know, there's a trouble. And Clark and the rest of them are about to go out for a family night. And then what happens is Clark's like, he puts his glasses on. He's like, don't worry about it. He probably just wants to show me a new suit. And he's blanketing it with, it's the end of the world. I need your help. It's not real. So they go out, they have a good time. And then this is the part I don't like. They get attacked by Lex bots, which can apparently scan for Kryptonian DNA and find Superman and John or Clark and John. And what I don't like is, yes, there are no cameras on it. The biggest plot hole right here is the fact that how hard would it be for Lex to create cameras and then figure out that Clark Kent's Superman by just sending those robots out to find Superman when he's not around? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This was something I don't feel, this was not a good plot device for this part of the book because it leaves a bunch of questions. So Lex is smart enough to create robots to find Superman, but he's not smart enough to figure out his secret, to do this, to figure out when he hated Superman, what Superman's identity was, or, who he was in real life. I mean, I know the world doesn't know that Superman has a secret identity, but you don't think that Lex would have figured to make these robots before, and then somehow it would have found out that Clark Kent was Superman, and then Lex would have known Superman's greatest secret of all. But anyway, Superman and John end up fighting the robots because once again now Clark's like, I don't take demands. And him and John end up fighting the robots. And what happens is in the end, they somehow get captured by a mother box. And the mother box sends all three of them to Apocalypse. Unfortunately, it drops all three of them off in different places. To be continued. See, that's the one thing I didn't like, though. The robots, Clark not wanting to answer the call, even if Lex was going to brag, right? He could have answered the call real quick and said, Lex, I've got things to do, and left. He didn't have to completely, especially when the robots came. That should have been a #1 sign that something is really, really wrong. And the robots, I mean, it's too easy now. I mean, it's like, come on, is the world that stupid? I mean, first of all, the world's dumb enough. Glass, I'm Clark Kent. I'm Superman. I'm Clark Kent. I'm Superman. The world's dumb enough as is with that already. But then you're going to throw in now Lex created robots to find Kryptonian DNA. But he never thought of doing this before when he didn't like Superman to figure out where Superman was or who Superman was. Even though we had that, and yes, we had that story, our Clark Kent Superman. But still, come on. What's going to stop him from making these robots again in the future? He's going to have an aneurysm in his brain and not remember how to create robots or something? Bit of a hole. So, Superman 33, a decent issue, a bit on the action side, but story was decent. Also good to see Lex Luthor, Lois Lane, John Kent in the issue. Great art. I agree with the good artwork. It was definitely great artwork. The cliffhanger with Superman being dragged away to Apocalypse. That was the best part of this book, was the fact that they're all three on Apocalypse, and Lois is the only one without superpowers. New 52 Lex Luthor did figure out. Yeah, I know he did figure it out, but now we're trying to go back to old logic here a little bit. I feel Lex will be turning bad again soon. Can't say good stay. No, Lex Luthor can't. Unfortunately, I love Lex as a good guy, but no, Lex will not stay good forever. Eventually, probably during Doomsday Clock is when you're going to be starting to see the real Lex Luthor come back, and that's what's going to suck. Because I really did enjoy Lex as a good guy. He was cool as a good guy. But anyway, that's it for this review, guys. That's all the books we have for this week. We're going to start reading our current books, probably starting tonight, going into, well, maybe tomorrow. So thank you all so much for being here. Kenneth, Tevya, both of you, thank you for sticking with us through the entire live show. Alan, I know you're out there somewhere watching. I know you're busy doing other things, but I know you're out there somewhere watching because I know you're always watching. I want to thank also Spartan, who was here at the very beginning for, I guess, a couple of moments. And anyone who is watching this post-live, thank you for watching. But now it's your turn. Because while, unfortunately, all the awesome comments that are here for the live show will not be here when the live show happens. Great show as always, guys. Thank you so much, Kenneth. As these comments will not be in the bottom, you are welcome to let us know in the comments below what you think of this week's books. Likes, dislikes, agree, disagree. We'd love to hear from you guys. And also, I'd like to point a few things out. Here we go. Number one, Halloween's coming up. It's going to be Tuesday. 50-50 on whether we're going to show up for Frontline Live or not. It really all depends on what happens after trick-or-treating on Halloween. Depends what the family wants to do, etc., etc. That's Halloween. Ironically, What the Card hit 666 subscribers as of this video. It might have gone up, it might have gone down, but it's ironic that it hit 666 subscribers literally less than a week away from Halloween. That's hilarious. Also, go check that out. We have videos going up every single day from Monday to Friday this week. I think next week we'll have Monday to Friday, and then we might go back to a regular schedule for the rest of the year, and then there'll be an announcement video on there at the beginning of the year where what we're going to be doing moving forward. And on this channel, I did make a little hint, 2018, new year. This channel has gone through hell and high water. What's next? Where is this channel going to go from here? Obviously, these reviews are going to be sticking around for a bit until until either we decide to stop the show, we decide to shelf the show, or the show just goes off at some point. We don't know yet with the review show, but there's a whole channel here. We got to start thinking about, we need to start thinking about maybe what else can be done on this channel that could be fun. And that's what I want to be thinking very hard about in 2018. I'll expand on this on the next Dark Avenger podcast, which I'm praying I get the chance to sit down in a quiet environment to record finally. I started and then the environment gets loud. You guys don't know. It'll all be a part of the Dark Avenger podcast. As soon as I can get it all up, you guys will understand what's been going on, what is going on, what's going through my mind, and exactly what I'm thinking about when it comes to 2018 for not just this channel, but all around everything I'm involved with. And no, I'm not going anywhere. It has nothing to do with me saying I'm quitting everything. I'm not quitting. There's just a lot that's on my mind that either I'm gonna get it off my chest, and then I'm gonna explain what's gonna be going on in 2018, because there are a few things that will be changing. Now, I'm not saying major changes. I'm not saying, oh, we're going back to a vlog channel. No, none of that. Nothing's changed channel wise. Nothing's changing. It's just where things are gonna be set moving forward, and where focus is going to be put more on and less on, and here and there and everywhere. So stay tuned for that Dark Avenger podcast for that. Also, Last Ember Press has a Kickstarter going on right now for the Last Ember. Please, if you haven't donated, or if you can't back the project, if you can't put any money down on it, please share it with your friends. Share it around. Let people know what's out there, and try to get somebody to check out the project, and hopefully maybe they'll back it. It's the only project, if you type in The Last Ember, #1, it's the only project that pops up on Kickstarter. That's how you can find it. Link is in any video that I'm with Brant or in the Zone 4. You can go to lastemberpress.com. There's a whole post there about it. It's everywhere. You cannot miss this. I'm sharing it on Facebook. Brant sharing it on Facebook. There's a lot of shares going on all around. So I believe we've shared everything. Happy Halloween, everybody. We won't be seeing you until after Halloween on this channel. So hopefully you guys have a happy and safe Halloween. Get lots of candy if you're going out trick-or-treating. And if you're not going out trick-or-treating, if you're going with other people, hopefully you get candy or you have a good time too. Have a good time. It's Halloween. And that is one holiday down, 2 more to go. My favorite one being the last one of the 2. That's where we're going to start having some fun. So take care, everybody. And hopefully we'll see you guys really soon in the next video. And never forget, keep reading and keep collecting. Later, everybody.